Danny Ings, Danny Ings, Danny Ings. Na 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 na. That, James Jones, is the first time that I have sung that song, including a Saturday afternoon when I was in the away end at Craven Cottage. What a fickle fan base we are, was the reply to the tweet that I posted with a video of the jubilant away end celebrating Danny Ings' last minute equaliser at Fulham on Saturday. It's very much, James, like the Mikel Antonio song that I just can't bring myself to sing anymore. I made a vow after Man United away in the FA Cup, went all the way up there on a Wednesday night, I think it was, and as did 7,500 of my fellow diehard hammers, I'd like to add. And Mikel Antonio missed a couple of absolute sitters, and then United inevitably won the game. And I vowed after that night I'd never sing the Mikel Antonio song again. Slightly different with Danny Ings, because I don't know what game it was that he passed without having a considerable impact for West Ham, whilst being our third highest earner at the time. I think maybe fourth now. Maybe even fifth, actually, with a couple of summer signings. Anyway, 130 grand a week. Obscene wages. Probably the worst value for money potentially in the history of West Ham United, or certainly in the top 10. So I must admit, I found it quite hard to sort of like join in with the Danny Ings song after the final whistle. Look, all you can do is put the ball in the net. But what I will say, as I said to 2 or 3 of my Fulham supporting friends, that I almost felt guilty celebrating. Like, the Danny Ings song aside, it was a truly awful performance from West Ham. Fulham are really good. I do think we made them look like Brazil. But on that note, James, I thought it might be a good way to start the podcast, before I ask you how you are and all that jazz, for you to just read out some of the WhatsApps I was sending you during the game from the away end at the weekend.
Well, I'm sitting on my sofa Saturday afternoon, well aware that we're losing 1-0, and I'm kind of trying to remain upbeat. Lucy's out. I've got the boy kind of going. I haven't told him. But I don't want to make it even worse. I'll keep this
What? You haven't told him we're losing?
Yeah, no, I'll keep this one a secret from him, I think. Going, well, I don't really expect us to score, and then suddenly the phone goes and it's you. And I didn't actually realise you were there. And all I get is, I don't want to hear any of your false positive chat. It wasn't the exact word that you used, but that the actual word began with a B on the pod tomorrow. We're coming 12th, and we're going to concede 500 goals this season. We're making Fulham look like Brazil. And immediately I'm like, well, that's a little bit strong, isn't it? I mean, we're 4 games into the season. Chill out, Will. Like, it's going to be okay, even if we do lose this 1-0. It's better than last year, because you've been comparing every game to last year. Last year, we were 5-0 down at that point.
Yeah.
And then you've gone, seriously, though, this is not very good, not the actual word you used. I cannot tell you what the plan is, like, at all. That should be Rodriguez's last game for us. So immediately I'm like, he's definitely been on the beers, hasn't he? How many beers have you had? 2. Definite lie, by the way.
I swear on my life I'd had 2 beers.
Well, at that point, I left it. I thought, I'm just going to leave him to it, because he's not a very happy man, and he's making me even more unhappy with all this hyperbole. It's just doing my head in. And then the goal goes in. So I've just replied to you in big capital letters, I can't wait to hear about the limbs, and I'm still waiting to tell me all about it. But then you still came back and went, we're coming 12th. So that's that was the gist of the exchange that we had. And
okay, right.
I think we have a lot to talk about today, because there is. I feel like there's been a shift between the two of us in terms of our outlook on West Ham.
Yeah,
you lambasted me last season for moaning about last-minute winners and equalisers.
Yeah,
you were going, no, just it's the result that matters, isn't it? It's the result that matters. Well, we got a last-minute equaliser in the 95th minute. Super Danny Ings, and you're complaining that we might finish 12th. I'm not having it. I'm not having it.
You know what, mate? And it's so funny, isn't it? And like, everyone's agenda is just flipped, right? Like, not agenda, but you know what I mean. Some people who actually have got an agenda, but and I'm not putting you or me in this, but it is amazing how like it's all flipped on its head, because I was like yesterday, like people must have been like after we beat Burnley away 2-1, and Tom Suchek, I think it was, but we scored. Was it the first goal in like the 85th, and then got the second one about 4 minutes later or whatever? Yeah, but like a terrible performance from West Ham for 84 minutes or whatever, and then got 2 goals and won. I think that I will say, like, you remember the vitriol after that game, right? It was bad, wasn't it? Like really, really bad. From the Moyes outers, obviously. And so what I will say is that on Saturday we didn't even win. Like we drew, and people are like, it's one of those, right? Take away the, because I believe, contrary to popular belief, I want West Ham to be good this season, and I did celebrate the equaliser profusely. It was the actual Danny Ings song that stuck in my throat a little bit, but I did sense quite a bit of irony among my fellow fans in the away end, but included Billy Horschel, by the way, the supersonic pro golfer who sports a West Ham golf bag on his way around the PGA and major golfing events. Saw him in the away end and in the pub afterwards. That was very nice. But yeah, it was really bad. Like Fulham really deserved to win. Like that, they were actually good. To be fair, they were a lot better than I think people generally giving them credit for. They will be absolutely fine this season. There's no way they'll be in relegation trouble. Like they are a tidy little outfit. Like Adama Traore is a good player. Raul Jimenez is good. Emil Smith-Rowe looked very, very tidy. Pereira is a nice player. I thought Calvin Bassey and that Joachim Anderson at the back also very good. Like all in all, just a really tidy, decent team. But we were making them look like Brazil. And the thing that the problem is, James, that I've got exactly what I said to you is I can kind of just about get on board with the defensive bit, right? Where it's like, well, if you compare us to what we looked like under David Moyes for most of his tenure, I know people will go, oh, we were conceding loads at the end of last season. But for the majority of Moyes' tenure, we looked resolute at the back, really difficult to score against, it appeared. Or that's what, all the fans would have you believe. And so we look really leaky at the back. Like we did it against Aston Villa. I said we should have lost that one 4-1. We did it against Crystal Palace before we went on and won the game. And lots of the lads I was chatting to at half time on Saturday were saying the same thing. It was like, it was exactly this, because I was like, it's proper rubbish. They were like exactly the same as Palace. The only difference is we got away with it there and then went on and won the game. But the bit that really worries me, so again, moving away from David Moyes' style of play, you kind of accept, and I have done now. It's like, look, you're going to be a little bit more exposed at the back, and I think most fans, particularly the ones who wanted to change, are okay with that. And that's gonna happen because you're shifting from that one style of play to a slightly more open one. The thing that really worries me, Jonesy, and I'm going to keep saying it, and I will end up sounding like a broken record on this podcast for the next few weeks, I think, is that I have got no idea what the Julen Lopetegui pattern of play is or style of play is when we have the ball. Like how we try and build attacks, I have got no idea what it is, other than where the heck, quick, where's Kudus? Quick, just smash it towards Kudus, like as quick as we can, and see if he can dribble around 1,000 players. I appreciate the lineup, which I'm sure you've got some thoughts on, but I just worry, and there's no point me even saying anything about Mikel Antonio. Like sometimes I think, just in case there's any new people listening, I'll reinforce the fact that I think Mikel Antonio's past it. don't need to do that anymore. Obviously, Fulkrug's injured, so didn't have much choice. But Jared Bowen was our best player last season. Plays for England. Is an outstanding football player, and our captain just rewarded him with a brilliant new deal. The bloke's like just doesn't get the ball anymore. And when he does, he still does great things so well at the end to keep the ball in for the goal. I'm really worried. It's not a case of, oh, look, that's what Lopetegui's trying to do. It's just taking the players a bit of time to learn it, or they're trying and they're not quite got the implementation spot on yet because they just need a few more weeks in training and all that. It's like, I don't know what we are doing. When we get the ball, what do you expect from West Ham at the moment?
I do think it's a good point. Generally, I feel like the overall consensus is that we want to play with the ball, as opposed to allow the other team to have more of it. I've got that much out of it. I mean, we saw that in the second half against Man City. We were a little bit more boisterous in possession. It's funny that the two away games where we haven't lost have arguably been the two worst performances. And yeah, you're right. I think although I was absolutely delighted that we beat them, I think we did get away with it a little bit at Palace. But yeah, I'm still of the opinion, mate, that eventually it will come and it will be a little bit more clearer. But we have to remember that there are half of the summer signings that haven't played, barely. Fulkrug's already injured. Tadibo's, I don't even know
Rodriguez
what's going
has
on.
played quite enough. I think he's come to the end of
we'll get onto that one
already.
Like Soler come off the bench for his first appearance, or Soler
should have got sent off. Yeah,
Somerville. He hasn't started yet. It looks lively, but hasn't really started yet. Hasn't really had a chance to show what he can do. Kilman's the only one who we can safely say, yeah, bang on.
Yeah.
Good bit of business that. Straight in the team, no problem settling in, happy days. But the rest, kind of, the jury is still out on a lot of them, and that's not. I mean, I know you have a problem with Rodriguez, but apart from him, that's not for the fact that they're still getting up to speed. It's the fact that they have had the chance to get up to speed because they barely had the minutes. Which that's what's making me think, okay, well, it's still too early to go, no, I don't think this is going to work, or I don't really know what's going on, because we haven't seen, I don't think, West Ham at its absolute strongest under Lopetegui.
Yeah. I'm not saying, Lopetegui out. It doesn't have
no. I know you're not saying that, but that's why I'm reserving judgment on style. I've seen, like I've said the last few weeks.
Don't say it. Please don't say it. I've had a really bad day. I really can't listen to you say I've seen enough. I really can't.
I have, though.
Please think of another way of saying it.
It's not to say that I don't want to see more. 100% do. 100% do. I don't like the fact that we've gone to Fulham and had to scrape a 95th minute equaliser. Just as much as I don't like the fact that we went to Fulham last year and got battered 5-0. Squad illness or not. But we have to look at it and go, okay, well, this is 9 new or 8 new outfield players. Can't really following him down as a signing. So it's 8 new players, a new manager, and a so-called new style of play that everyone needs to get up to speed with. And we're only 4 league games in. I saw a headline the other day, earlier on today. It was like West Ham are a rally car driven by a pensioner or something like that, and they're basically having a pop at Lopetegui. And it's like, what are you talking about? Like, we're 4 games into the season. Like, I think the point at which you can judge it is when we've played everyone once, and you can go, okay, well, that's when you've got the yardstick and go, okay, well, where are we? Played everyone once. Where are we? But before then, yes, question marks over the style. What is it actually that we're trying to do? But until we've got the absolute strongest 11 out there for a good, nice little string, like run of games, difficult to really put any judgment on it. I
No,
think.
I do agree. I just want to see something like, because even you're right, and it might not be the exact players he wants to play. And Paqueta really made a difference when he came off the bench, whether it was just fatigue. I think fatigue from the international break, and or his performance against Man City. You imagine the former rather than the latter, and Souček really wasn't the answer in that number 10 position. Yeah, but we said, didn't we, on last week's podcast, right, that the next run of games coming up is like a really appealing, chunky run of games up until that Newcastle away game, really, on November the 25th. Where you've got a real mix of teams in there, difficult but winnable. Chelsea at home next up, obviously. Brentford away, Ipswich at home, Tottenham away, Man United at home, Nottingham Forest away, Everton at home, Newcastle away. Yeah, and I just think even the games after that, Arsenal at home, Leicester away, Wolves at home, Bournemouth away, Brighton at home, Southampton away, that takes us right up to Boxing Day. I guess it's probably what you said, really, but and I'm not. It's not at all like, oh no, this is a nightmare. Get rid. It's definitely not going to work. It's not that, and mainly because we've still picked up a couple of results, haven't we? Which is like, the important thing. We've still got the points on the board from Palace and Fulham. Villa are a good side, and Man City's a write-off, isn't it? So I don't think it's a disaster. I just think by this stage, all right, you're 14th, but it's so tight at this stage. If you got another couple of points, you might be 10th, but it's what the table looks like now doesn't matter. I just want to see a bit more. Like, I just want to. I think by this stage, even if it's not with the exact players you'd think, you should be able to look and go, yeah, I see what he's trying to do there. Do you know what I mean? In Postecoglou at Tottenham, it might be mental, but you can see at least what he's trying to do. I don't know, other than let them like have some really, really clear-cut opportunities on goal to lure them into a false sense of security and make it look like we're really struggling to win the ball back. And then when we do, just sort of panic and hope that Kudus is in space. And if not, well, I don't know, probably just lose the ball again.
I don't know. I think, I worked out earlier that actually if we're going to take a leaf out of the William Pugh handbook of whether you should be happy about results or not, we're 3 points better off than we were in the corresponding fixtures last season.
Nice.
Palace and Fulham in those games last year, we conceded a grand total of 10 goals between those two games. And this year we played them in the exact same fixtures. We've conceded just one.
Yeah,
and got 4 points out of it. So
I like it.
I mean, style of play, you can't see the direction, but you can't deny there's been some kind of improvement. The first 4 games of the season, we've played 2 Champions League teams, one of which is the best team on the planet, rightly or wrongly. One team which ended the season as the form team at the back end of last year in Palace, and then a pretty good Fulham side that battered us 5-0 at Craven Cottage last year.
Yeah.
So I'm finding it very difficult to say anything negative about it. I think there has been very visible improvements. Yes, the style of play,
if you'd watch,
probably needs a bit of work, but I'm happy with it. I'm happy with it.
Yeah, I think happy's strong in it, to be fair, but that's what I mean. The fact we've got 4 points, it's like, yeah, fine. Like the Palace win was important. It'd be nice to get a win, but really a point should be bare minimum at Fulham. The manner we got it, all right, not ideal, but at least we've got it. So it's not a disaster. And it's at least giving us a platform to build on. James, my spotlight in here is having an absolute nightmare.
I was going to say, is it my screen or is it actually something
no,
you're in a disco in your room or something?
It's a little spotlight. I feel like the bulb's about to go. I've just seen my little bald spot in the mirror behind me. That's not good. I'm only 32. Jonesy, what I will say while we're on the topic, we'll go into the Fulham game in a bit more detail next up. My experience, some of the chats we were having, bit around the atmosphere, the players I like the look of, and the ones I didn't. Aaron Wan-Bissaka, get ready for a shoeing because I'm going to go in two-footed. Emerson come off injured. Have a little bit of an update on Emerson's injury as well. But before we do that, don't forget to follow us on socials, as always, at @WeAre_West Ham on Twitter. We are West Ham Pod on Instagram. And if you would like to, like Jim Odie has done yet again, like he does every week. Thanks very much, Jim. He's emailed us at wearewesthampod@gmail.com, which you can also do if you fancy it. Just quickly, Jonesy, quick rundown of Jim's thoughts here. Loved Will's rant on the state of the game on last week's pod. Appreciate it might be a little bit late. Just says, unfortunately, there's always been seeding in the cup competitions, obviously with the FA Cup. I think that's a point you made as well, wasn't it? Where you come in a little bit later on in the tournament, obviously get the bye, which I don't hate as much. But yeah, just saying, like, he thinks it's a bit sketchy that Man United always get a home draw and are always on the telly. The TV, I totally understand. But yeah, just another nice email from Jim there. Yeah, I keep forgetting you met him the other week, didn't you? While we're on that topic, though, Jonesy, one thing I will say. I just like to say hello to the guy who come up to me in the Marksman in Hackney or in Haggerston last Wednesday after I played football, as I do every Wednesday, and someone come up to me, had my We Are West Ham podcast hoodie on afterwards in the pub having a couple of pints, and yeah, one of the guys come up to me and said hello, said he loves the podcast. So yeah, didn't actually exchange names, weirdly, just come up and had a
knows
brief
yours.
chat. Huh?
He knows your name.
Well, you'd hope so, wouldn't you? Yeah, but yeah, we had a brief chat. So yeah, and I believe you've had a couple more celeb hotspots as well.
Yeah, I was in the gym the other day and got talking to. I've got West Ham tattoo on my leg, so people know. One guy come up to me and introduced me to another guy who's also a West Ham fan, and he's now a subscriber. I completely forgotten his name though, so I apologise because he's going to watch every week. So I'm so terrible with names, and I remembered it for like 2 days, and leading up to this, I completely forgotten it. But yeah, no, really, really nice guy. Subscribe
already a listener, or are you on the recruitment drive?
No, we were just talking about West Ham, and I can't remember how we got on the subject, but I ended up saying, I've got a podcast as well. And he was like, which one? And then sort of told him, he was like, I'll go on YouTube now and subscribe.
Lovely.
And so yeah, and then was watching one of our most recent shows on the treadmill later on in the afternoon. So that was good.
Happy days, mate.
Yeah, shout out to him, new listener. Yeah, and
forgot his name though.
I completely forgotten his name. Next time I see him, I'll apologise because he's watching now going, can't believe it. I'm sorry.
Yeah, nice.
I'm really sorry, mate. I'm genuinely sorry. But yeah, no, it's good. And I said to one of the guys in there, I was like, so many of us up here, up in Berries. Didn't know. I thought it was the only one.
Good to hear you on the recruitment drive, mate. That's Bury St Edmunds for anyone listening who's thinking James has moved to Lancashire. Is Bury in Lancashire? I know your Bury isn't, but actual Bury.
No, it's just outside of Manchester, so yeah.
Lancashire's a very safe bet, isn't it? Yeah, it's got to be. Yeah, well, if you want to be like James's mystery friend, whose name he's forgot, you should also subscribe to our YouTube channel. Yeah, we would like that very much. Follow us on socials, like we said already. Thanks for all of you who've got in touch this week. Thank you very much for listening. Stay with us, though, don't you? Don't turn off just yet. Because we'll have a bit more of a breakdown of the Fulham game coming up next. Right, Jonesy, Aaron Wan-Bissaka. I don't know if I'm being a bit negative this week or just in a bit of a bad mood. It was a bit grim, I must admit, though, the Fulham game, to be fair. Aaron Wan-Bissaka, Emerson was so much better than him he got given an absolutely torrid time. Wan-Bissaka, I mean, not Emerson. Emerson dealt really well, I thought, with Adama Traore for the majority of the game. I thought his positional play was really good, and he sort of forced Fulham to be attacking down that left-hand side the most. The Fulham's opening goal, or Fulham's goal, Raul Jimenez, was one of the most infuriating Sunday League-esque things I've ever seen. Like the ball sort of goes over the top, looks like it's going out for a goal kick. Wan-Bissaka is so far out of position, there's no way in a million years he's getting there anyway, which he'd done time and time again. I appreciate he probably used to playing for Man United and having a little bit more of the ball and being a little bit more like further up the pitch. But again, I don't know if it's some sort of technique or whatever. But yeah, just well out of position. And then the ball goes over the top, and it's like it wasn't blatantly obviously going out for a goal kick. Mavropanos is like, that'd be fine. Don't worry about it. Emil Smith Rowe just like didn't even have to properly sprint, like a brisk jog towards the ball, keeps it in, rolls it back. Jimenez, donk 1-0. Thanks very much. Like, what are you doing, Konstantinos? Honestly, and Wan-Bissaka well out of position. Yeah, and it just, I don't know. I thought Mavropanos again did his sort of usual thing, really, of looking fairly composed and like a really like fairly imperious Premier League centre back for 87 minutes, and then looks Sunday League for 3 or 4. Another, just again, classic, like massive lapse in concentration. And just like the sort of thing you learn in like the under sevens, when you're like, well, never give up on it. Like, you know, if you're not sure, run. And then, you know, if you get there, great. If you don't, then make sure you've tried. That's the last thing you do. The last thing you do is give up on it and hope it goes out, particularly a defensive one. It's different if it's like the other end of the pitch and you're attacking. Like, a defensive one, you make sure, don't you? Like, you do not let Emil Smith Rowe in. I don't know. Just
watching the extended highlights. That was one of the biggest takeaways I took away from the highlights was that just the sheer lack of urgency of getting back into the box the moment they would have realised that Emil Smith Rowe was going to keep it in.
Yeah.
Like, I'm watching it, not knowing that was the first time, not knowing that was going to lead to the goal, and I was like, "He's going to keep it in, boys. He's going to keep it in. I'm going to run back." And then obviously he keeps it in, and they score, and I'm like, "Oh, for crying out loud!"
Yeah.
So I'm glad that we're in agreement on that, because yeah, it's terrible defending. Like, just not a single defender even like looked that concerned. Well, we might keep that one in. We should probably run back here and just in case, but no.
Yeah.
That was the big takeaway for me. Lack of urgency in defence.
Yeah, no, big time. They did. I just worry. No, Kilman does look really good, and maybe it's midfield that's more of an issue. But all I'm seeing of our defenders at the moment seems to be it's like they seem to be doing a lot of, particularly because we're behind the goal at Fulham, obviously, seem to be doing a lot of running back towards their own goal line.
Doing their best Roger Johnson impression.
Exactly that, mate. Yeah. Which is never overly good. Just a bit more on Wan-Bissaka, right? Again, what I do want to give Fulham credit. I don't want this because they are good. They are a really tidy little side there. Marco Silva's got a good thing going. I mean, they showed us, slammed that in our face at the end of last season, didn't they? But I'm sorry, but Alex Iwobi isn't that good. I know Everton once paid £40 million for him, but that sort of became the biggest laughing stock transfer of the modern era, and the best bit of business Arsenal have ever done to get 40 million quid for Iwobi. Like, he was the least good of Fulham's attacking players, yet he was made to look like prime Lionel Messi by Wan-Bissaka. It's just I'm not sure. I remain unconvinced. Again, I know a lot of the time that appears that we've been watching different games lots of the time, or certainly last season. But I have missed all the games where people are convinced Vladimir Sufal, a great servant to our club, is all of a sudden now terrible, and even needed replacing. That is a real school of thought out there, Jonesy. Got a lot of that chat at half time at the weekend, and even after the game in the pub with a few of the other fans. Lots of people say, "Oh, he's terrible last season, Sufaldo." And I'm like, was he? Like, I don't know where I was for that, but he certainly, and we looked a lot better when he come on. He's certainly better than Aaron Wan-Bissaka. Are you having him so far?
Well, I think Kilman aside, I think he's been probably our second best signing in terms of performances. Difficult for me to comment on his entire performance against Fulham when I've only watched the highlights. I thought he was very good against Man City. But yeah, I mean, I don't subscribe to the fact that Sufal is terrible all of a sudden.
No.
The reason, but I've always had concerns over his defensive abilities. Like going forward, it's been. I mean, he's got like 20 assists for us. Like going forward, brilliant. But defensively, like maybe it's pace. I don't know, but I've always felt like if we could have someone that could do a little bit of both, that's an upgrade. And I wonder whether that's what Lopetegui sees in Wan-Bissaka. So far, we've seen more of Wan-Bissaka's defensive qualities than attacking qualities.
Certainly did on Saturday, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think I don't know. I mean, he played well when he came off the bench against Palace. I thought he was very good against Manchester City. Like I said, I can't really comment on his entire performance against Fulham.
No, of course you can't. No, but it was just a bit concerning, really. It was just the more a couple of times where I was like, "You're so far out of position there." Like when we turned, again, we shouldn't be turning the ball over, perhaps in those sort of areas, but really far out of position, but not far enough out of position where you're like, "Oh, if we can get the ball out to him there, we'll be dangerous." That's what frustrated me loads. Perhaps teams are becoming a bit wise to him or feeling like Bowen's more of a threat than Kudus, but he just doesn't. I don't know. That obviously we're so used to watching West Ham attack down that right the last few years, aren't we? I think perhaps a lack of that, is a little bit of a concern. What did you make, James, of the Adama Traore claim for a penalty? From where I was, it was one of them where you're like, "Oh, that looks soft, but it'll probably get given these days," because you just look like one of them untidy clashes. But having seen it back a few times, I actually think it's softer in like when you watch it back than it looked at the time. And I think I spoke to former Premier League ref Mark Housey earlier on, who said he was pleased that decision was given as it was. VAR had a look at it, but rather than trying to referee the game, it wasn't a clear and obvious error. It was a bit of a tight one. Like you've seen them given. If it was given, it probably doesn't get overturned either. Sort of on a knife edge. It doesn't get given, so they stick with the referee's decision. What were your thoughts?
I mean, yeah, when watching it for the first time in technically real time, I did think, "Oh, that looks awful." And I was keeping up to date with the Soccer Saturday, and they went to, I can't remember who was there, but they went to the reporter at the game who said, "Yeah, it looked like a penalty, but then having looked back, it looked a little bit soft." And I do agree. I think the difference is with these ones is that there's no tug of the shirt for a start. It is a little bit of a. It's almost just the defender letting him know he's there.
Yeah,
sort of thing.
It was arm contact rather than leg, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I think if there's either a tug of the shirt or there's leg contact, then it's probably a penalty. But because it's arm contact and it's almost like the defender's josting and kind of letting him know he's there, probably why it wasn't given. And he did go down a little bit easy as well.
I thought, his touch was bad, wasn't it?
Touch was bad for a big guy. He's hit the deck very quickly, isn't he?
Yeah.
So I'm looking back, I'd have been absolutely livid if they'd have given it.
Yeah.
Because like the moment you start giving penalties for things like that, we might as well go home.
Yeah, exactly. I think it was. He's travelling at pace, but it was definitely his touch. Because I don't know whether he's tried to take it across him on purpose to try and buy the penalty, or as is Traore's way sometimes, it's similar fashion to Mikel Antonio. Really quick, really strong. Doesn't necessarily always know exactly where the ball's going, though, does he? When it's at his feet, So you felt because like the move there, he had the running on Kilman. Like the move was touch with the outside of his right foot, out of his feet, line himself up for a shot on his right, and then smash it low and hard across the goal. So I feel he sort of like couldn't do that. I was going too quick, lost control of it, and just tried to buy the pen. And yeah, that would have been annoying. Carlos Soler, James, came on late in the game, came on about 72 minutes, I think. And then, 70, 72, something like that. And then got himself booked about 12 minutes later on 82 minutes for definitely a booking. I think he was moaning a bit afterwards as well on Tom Cairney. And then shortly after that, 5 minutes later, maybe, Calvin Bassey, really good game for Fulham, comes marauding up from the back, sort of bursting forward on the halfway line. Soler, just late, just a late trip, right? No malice in it, not a bad tackle, but just like, and I'm like, oh, he's off. Because it was like around the halfway line, middle of the pitch sort of thing. And it was a positive run by Bassey, like one of those where he sort of takes 2 or 3 people out of the game. And I was like, oh, well, he's sent off then. Like, what an awful debut. And somehow he escaped it. It didn't show it on any of the highlight packages.
Yeah, I can say I haven't seen it.
No, but I will say I already prefer Carlos Soler to Rodriguez.
Really?
Well, I'm really not having Rodriguez at all. But I think that's probably more of it than Soler looking particularly good. But he just looked like he wanted to get himself about a bit, even though he nearly did get sent off.
I think the decision to bring Carlos Soler in is purely because maybe in the first few games, Lopetegui's realised that you can't go with both Souček and Rodriguez.
What sort of player
and,
do you make
and Alvarez and Alvarez as well. You can't go with three technically defensive midfielders, right?
No.
And then Paquetá's still got to come into the team, and I think maybe he's noticed that Alvarez is a starter. Maybe he needs someone who's a little bit more forward thinking, which is what Soler will do. So again,
I think he's supposed to be like that link player, isn't he? Like almost like what Declan Rice would do. You know, that either be it passing or driving forward with the ball a bit. Because Rodriguez is more of a keep it moving sort of bloke, isn't he? And Alvarez again is a wrecking ball rather than a majorly cultured eye.
Fantastic hair as well, Soler.
Great hair, really good hair,
unbelievable Barnet.
Yeah, sensational.
Yeah,
no, he does wear that well. What did you make of the lineup then? You know, everyone was like annoyed that Paquetá wasn't in. And Souček in the 10. I'm never convinced. I think Souček's a very good attacking midfielder, but from the 8 position, that's sort of where he's good, I think. He's not a number 10, that much is for sure. And he just felt like sort of giving himself a bit of like, or giving fans a sort of bit of bait really to have a pop at him. But then if you look at the bench, realistically, what you're going to do, maybe have Kudus in the 10 and play Somerville from the beginning. But he seems pretty wed to Rodriguez to Lopetegui. So what did you make of the lineup?
I mean, I think fans are crying out to see Kudus in a 10 to see what you can do there. I was a little bit surprised when I saw that Paquetá wasn't in the 11, and then thought, but if he's been away with Brazil, then I understand it. But I didn't dislike it as such. But you're right, Souček in the 10 is a little bit of an odd choice. I mean, Bowen can play there. I don't know. Bowen through the middle.
Danny Ings can, as he proved.
Danny Ings can. He was prime number 10 against Sheffield United away last year. It's unbelievable.
He came on in the number 10 position on the weekend. Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't dislike. I wasn't like, oh my god, that 11's terrible. But the whole Souček in the number 10 role, that doesn't work, does it? Like he's not creative enough to be a number 10. But the bloke can barely pass as it is, and now you're asking him to be creative and behind the striker. Like it's just not happening, is it? Like, not again. hopefully.
No, absolutely not. I will say Emerson as well. West Ham reports coming out of West Ham today. Feeling tend to be that it's not as serious as first feared, which is good news. Vladimir Sufal came on and then played right back. And then looked very good. Like he was took the throw in, which sort of basically set Bowen up to then cut it back for Danny Ings. All in all, bit of a sad set of affairs for poor old Aaron Cresswell, I did think, when Emerson goes off.
I thought that when I saw the sub. When I saw the sub, I was like, bit odd.
Yeah.
Just put Cresswell on. He's naturally a left back. But
Yeah, very peculiar. But look, all in all, mate, I think you just take the point and hope that if you're picking up points while you're improving, great. I'm just a little bit concerned about the what we're sort of striving towards or improving. But I will say Somerville look good, so I'm starting to be convinced that he's perhaps not. I'm going to might stop calling him Crescencio Benrahma soon. He'll have to do a little bit more before I'm fully persuaded. What do you reckon then, Jonesy? Coming up, are you? How are you feeling? We've obviously got Chelsea at home next Saturday. We'll have an opposition view podcast later this week, and then we got Liverpool next Wednesday, 14th in the division.
It's Liverpool this week.
Is it? Yeah. Oh, of course it is. Wednesday the 25th. Liverpool at home on Wednesday. Forgive me. I'm looking at the right. The Google fixtures need to sort out their format in there because that looks very weird indeed. But anyway, Liverpool Wednesday away in the League Cup third round, and then Chelsea at home on Saturday. Thoughts and feelings?
Well, my initial thoughts with Liverpool away in the cup was, well, is there any point us even bothering? And then I saw them lose at home to Nottingham Forest at the weekend without scoring a goal and thought, oh, so they are beatable.
You do hate Nottingham Forest, though.
Yeah, I do, and it upset me a little bit because I didn't really know how to feel. But now I'm like, well, have Liverpool been exposed by Nottingham Forest as a team that can be beaten at Anfield? And hopefully Lopetegui's paying attention. Or are we about to come up against a very angry and upset, wounded animal in Liverpool at Anfield on Wednesday who are not going to take any prisoners and batter us about 11-0 in response to losing at home and losing ground in the title race so early in the season? My bet's the latter, if I'm honest. I fully expect us to get spanked. But there is a little bit of hope there now, which wasn't there 3 days ago.
What, just because Forest are beating them?
Just because Forest beat them. There's that, which is good. Chelsea at the weekend. We seem to have a very good home record against Chelsea in recent seasons.
Yeah, I'm feeling fairly confident.
And I've seen a couple of Chelsea fans on social media go, "This is the game that I dread every season." All of a sudden, so that's quite pleasing to see.
Yeah.
But I think Chelsea this year are a side that loads have been made about the fact they've signed everyone, and they continue to want to sign everyone. I think they're a side that will go under the radar a little bit this year and do well. I battered Wolves 6-2 a few weeks ago.
They were pants against Bournemouth, though.
Pants against Bournemouth, but ground out a win. I think they're a side that once they get going, once those 300 players really gel, I think they're going to be a good side. I think we're probably playing them at a good stage in the season. I wouldn't want to be playing them in January, for example, for the first time, or December.
Sorry, Liverpool says here 25th of September.
Well,
I was like, that's weird that Google have got them that way round. It literally says here Wednesday the 25th of September we're playing Liverpool away.
I looked earlier and it said 18th.
Oh, I bet we better.
Have they changed it?
Check your sources now, because
my source was Google, and I'm adamant. When I checked earlier, it said 18th.
We don't want anyone listening and then and then going all the way up to Liverpool Wednesday because they heard it on the We Are West Ham podcast. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well,
Let's
apologies.
have-
It
right,
does say the
no, I've
25th.
just checked the club website. It's definitely Wednesday the 25th. So yeah, totally ignore what James said just then. I was correct, and it is Chelsea first, then Liverpool after. You know what? That's a real relief because I was just panicking then, thinking, "Oh, I wonder what we're going to do about an opposition view." That doesn't leave us much time. That's not many, but don't worry about it. Like Chelsea on Saturday. Hopefully it'll be Stanford Chidge, a very long-term friend of the We Are West Ham podcast, a friend of me and James. So yeah, don't worry. Any of you stressing, listening, thinking, "Oh God, we've got to play with Liverpool on Wednesday," that's next week's problem. Do not worry. Look, James, I think we've about covered it. Good to see Billy Horseshoe in the away end. I was going to say again, right? The away atmosphere is, and look, West Ham were quite rubbish, so it was different. But it's definitely a different experience now, where after the point system has come in, the loyalty point system, because you get the same people there week in, week out, and you get a lot of fans, I feel, turning up, like treating it like a home game and just expecting West Ham to win and play well, and not really doing much as far as singing and atmosphere goes, until they do. And I just remember, we were chatting about, as we always do on away games and stuff, some of the old school away days we used to do, and even not that long ago, really, where it felt like more of a novelty for people. Obviously, you would get the people who went like away game in, away game out, but it felt like so many more of the fans in a typical away end were fairly different week in, week out. And I don't know, it just felt like it was almost like you were duty bound to sing non-stop at away games and to sort of burnish West Ham's reputation as a brilliant away following. Look, and I'm not saying it was rubbish at Fulham on Saturday. It wasn't. There was a few good songs, and maybe I am just getting old, mate. But I don't know, it just didn't feel the same. Like it was very much, and I've thought that a lot of games, barring the European away games, I have felt that since the point system has come in, where you're getting almost the same people in most away ends week in, week out, barring the 10%, I think it is, that goes to ballot tickets. And I think, with that, there's just been a little bit of a dying in that raw passion atmosphere. And I was just comparing it to a trip, probably 09-10. I think I went Fulham away. Standing at the back of that Putney end, smashing my fist on the metal fence, which is still there, for the whole game, and like the whole end was just rocking non-stop solidly. And you sort of think Saturday, 3:00, London derby, it's a nice away day, sun's out. You sort of fancied it would be a bit more of a party atmosphere, but it wasn't. And I think a little bit of that's because the point system, and also just West Ham were pretty pants. Well, I don't know what your thoughts are on it.
Well, someone that doesn't get the opportunity to go away very often, difficult for me to comment, really. I've been to a few decent away games over the years. It's a few European ones. Obviously, was in Prague, but that's a separate experience, isn't it? A cup final. But Lyon away was unbelievable, wasn't it? A couple of years ago. But yeah, the last Premier League away game I went to was Watford.
Yeah,
a few years back, we beat them 3-1. I think one of the first games of the season. But I was in corporate and I got told off for celebrating.
That doesn't count, does it?
Yeah, we got told off for celebrating, so it doesn't really count. But yeah, it's difficult for me to comment. But I'm going to try and get to a few more over the next couple of years. Now Harrison started school. I'm going to try and get to a few more.
My dad put it to me after the game that perhaps it's because of our success in Europe in recent seasons that fans are just a little bit less, excited about the prospect of beating Fulham away, for example. And whereas when I was going, that was pretty much all we had to play for was a big away win, and hopefully you beat Tottenham. But perhaps we're a different club now.
I do wonder whether, it is a case of maybe expectations have changed. you rock up at Fulham away and kind of go there expecting the result now. Whereas for many, many, many years, it was never a guarantee wherever you went, whether West Ham would win, lose or draw. Whereas now there's the expectation that, hang on, no, we've got European trophy. We finished 6th and 7th recently. We should be going to Fulham and winning. Because we've had it really pretty good over the last 4 years, haven't we? So I don't know. It's probably a mixture of everything, really.
Interesting. But look, thoroughly enjoyable day. Nice to see everyone. Shout out to everyone that I saw. All of those you were talking West Ham with me, and we are West Ham as well. Very nice indeed. Look, Jonesy, lovely to see you again, mate. We just to clarify for the record, we haven't got Liverpool Wednesday. Our next game is Chelsea at home in the Premier League on Saturday. We'll have an opposition view podcast for you later this week. Probably be with Chidgey. But yeah, just keep your ears out for that. That'll be around sort of Thursday to Friday-ish, probably. Chelsea at home. What do you think the score is going to be, James? Chelsea?
I think we're going to win 2-1.
You know what? I got a funny feeling we'll. I don't think we'll lose. I'm not going to put my neck on the line too much. I don't think we'll lose, but I'm going to go with it. I'm going to go be bolshy and confident as well. There's no way we won't concede. I'm going to go for 3-2 to West Ham. Yeah,
nice.
Absolutely.
Take it.
Listen, thanks very much for listening, everyone. Please do follow us on social media at @WeAre_West Ham on Twitter. We are West Ham Pod on Instagram. You can do subscribe to our YouTube channel. That will be really good. We Are West Ham Podcast. Just search that on YouTube. It'll come up there. That'll be really good to go and subscribe to the channel. And you can email us if you want at wearewesthampod@gmail.com as well. And you could buy us a pint if you want at buymeacoffee.com/wearewestham. Thanks everyone for listening. Hope you enjoyed the podcast. Thanks to all of you who've got in touch over the last week. A second West London opponent in a week on Saturday as Chelsea come to town at London Stadium. Why the hell not? You know where to stick the blue flag. Thanks for listening, everyone. West Ham are massive. Up the Hammers. Speak to you next week.